Hello and welcome to Watch Releases Recap for the week of October 20th until October the 27th. Let's begin with Laco and a couple of the new pilot watches, DIN 8330. One is a standard pilot watch, the other one is a GMT. Laco is a German brand with a lot of history. They're famous for their Flieger watches, they're famous for their pilot watches, and I would classify them as being a little bit more on affordable side. Apparently there's something called the German DIN 8330 standard. I didn't know about this, but it has some very strict rules that the watches have to adhere to be certified as meeting this standard. Among many other things, its tolerance to vibrations, different temperatures, different magnetic fields, being operational with the gloves, and overall durability of the watch. I will leave an article all about this in the description below in case you want to do some of your own research. It is quite interesting. So these two new models adhere to this standard. They also look very attractive. They have these larger cases, 43.5 millimeters. Of course, these are pilot watches, and pilot watches are meant to be very legible. Looking at the dial, you can see they are very Flieger inspired with the triangle at the 12 o'clock position, the big Arabic numerals for the 3, 6, and 9. And there is even a little bit more added functionality with this diver bezel. From my understanding, the bezel is actually loomed, which is a good touch. I mean, there are a lot of diver watches that don't even have loomed bezels. Speaking of diving, the watch has 200 meters of water resistance and it's made out of 904L stainless steel, which is a little bit more corrosion resistant, so you can actually take this watch swimming. The Hamburg or the standard pilot watch is powered by the Sellita SW200 and the GMT is powered by the Sellita SW330-1. It's a top grade Sellita movement. Actually, both movements are great and it's exactly what you expect in a watch in this price category. So your standard one is priced at 1790 euros and the GMT is priced at just under 2400 euros. I think that's a very fair price for what you're getting with this watch. Well done, Laco. The new Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean GMT Dark Gray. There's so much to talk about with this release. First of all, the looks. I really like the design of this watch. I think they nailed it with that all gray motif with slight orange accents. Of course, this one is the Planet Ocean, so it has that helium escape valve at the 10 o'clock position. Not everyone's favorite part of this design, but to me it looks all right. The crown is of course at the 3 o'clock position. It's a screw down crown because this watch has 600 meters of water resistance. I love the fact that it has a GMT function. There's a date at the 3 o'clock position. I think that's the only design oversight with the watch. I wish they color matched the date wheel to the color of the dial. I think a gray date wheel would look very sharp with this watch. Then you have things like the construction of the case and the materials, which are also impressive. So the watch has a ceramic case and a ceramic bezel insert. Now the inner part of the bezel, the mechanism is all made out of titanium. Also the inner parts of the case are made out of titanium. The buckle is made out of titanium. And the movement is made out of titanium, which is super impressive. Omega actually made a titanium movement previously, and that is one of the most underrated Aquaterra watches on the market. I am a big fan of that Omega, and now having another titanium movement is just a cool flex. This one, by all accounts, is pretty much the same as the standard stainless steel caliber 8900, just made in titanium. So it is still MATA certified, it beats a 3.5 Hz frequency, still has 60 hours of power reserve, and it has anti-magnetism of up to 15,000 Gauss, which is quite a lot. So there's a lot to like about this watch, but there is one glaring negative. Actually two negatives, but one is bigger than the other. And speaking of being big, this watch is ginormous. Omega's Planet Ocean watches are big, but this one is especially big. It's 45.5 millimeters in diameter, but more importantly, it's 17.5 millimeters thick. They couldn't make this watch thicker if they tried. I get that it has 600 meters of water resistance, but it doesn't need to be this thick. There's a bit of a dichotomy with this watch because they went the extra steps to make it extra light, like making the movement made out of titanium, so that saves about 30 grams, I think. But then you have the watch that's 17.5 millimeters thick. Yes, it's super light, but it's also super thick. I think majority of people would take standard stainless steel movement. They would sacrifice that 30 grams of weight, and they would prefer the thickness of 13 millimeters, or let's say 13.5 millimeters. That would be a lot more preferred. This design, this look, the ceramic case, a ceramic bezel, titanium parts, regular heavy movement, and thinner. I think that would be the preference. But as it is right now, I think it's just way too thick. On top of that, it's also quite expensive, $22,500. I get why it's so expensive, because it's not easy to make movements out of titanium. That's why not too many movements are made out of titanium. But I mean, $22,500 is a lot of money. What do you guys think? What do you think about this watch? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. The new Panerai Radiomir reference PAM01385. I talked about this in past videos, but I'm gonna say it again. I don't know too much about Panerai watches, but I do know this, that there are two distinct lines. You have your Luminor, and then you have this Radiomir line. So this new release is heavily inspired. It is almost an homage to their original design from 1935, I believe. Keeping up with the traditional Panerai watches, this watch is massive. It's 45 millimeters in diameter. It comes in a stainless steel case, all polished. There are no brush surfaces on this watch. I actually think it looks quite sharp, although it will attract a lot of scratches. The color of the dial is very interesting. It's this sand color, and it has a leather strap to match. The watch is powered by the Panerai in-house P6000 movement. It's a manual wind movement with 21,600 vibrations per hour, 72 hours of power reserve, and it has 19 joules. The watch is also water resistant up to 100 meters, and it's limited to 300 pieces with the cost of $5,400 US. So it's not a cheap watch, but it's also not the most expensive watch that Panerai makes. The new Christopher Ward C1 Moonface. Christopher Ward already has a model called C1 Moonglow, and is their most popular watch to date. Yes, that's right. This dress watch is more popular than their sports watches such as divers and GMTs. Kind of surprising. Well, to give people more of a good thing, they are introducing now this new C1 Moonface. It looks even dressier and, in my opinion, even more beautiful. I love the fact that it has this almost sterile dial, except for Swiss made all the way at the 6 o'clock position. That's pretty much it. There's no other writing. The dial is made out of aventurine. From my experience, these dials have to be looked at in person. It's very difficult to capture how beautiful these dials are on video or on pictures. Also, the Moonface function pretty much takes the 50% of the dial. The whole upper portion of the dial is dedicated to the Moonface, and the moon itself is loomed, which I think is a very nice touch. As far as the case goes, it's still very reasonable, 45.5 millimeters in diameter, only 13.3 millimeters thick. I think it's a little bit thicker than the Moonglow, but it is still quite thin. The watch is powered by the caliber JJ01, which is essentially a modified Sellita movement that has 38 hours of power reserve, 26 joules, and it beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour. It is currently available for pre-orders, and the price is $2,325 on this strap, or $2,475 for the one on the bracelet. I'd say go for the bracelet one and just buy strap afterwards. I'm surprised that the difference between the strap one and the bracelet one is only $150. I think that's a great deal. The Ming LW.01, the lightest wristwatch in the world. Hodinkee has an excellent article about this watch and the release. I will leave a link to it in the description below, but essentially it's the lightest wristwatch ever created. The manual wind version weighs only 8.8 grams, and the automatic version only weighs 11 grams. That's crazy light. Your standard dress watch probably weighs somewhere around 70 grams, maybe 65 grams. So this being multiple times lighter than that is just insane. The watch is powered by a modified ETA 2000 movement. Of course, it's very heavily modified. The watch doesn't even have a dial. It has a very interesting way of telling time and how they're hiding the movement with this sort of rotating disc. A lot of engineering went into creating a watch like that. Now, of course, you would imagine that a watch this light would have a very exotic case material, and it does. It's made out of magnesium, and the watch itself is also very thin. I think it's only 6.5 millimeters thick, but it still has a reasonable diameter of 38 millimeters. In my opinion, having that thin sliver of a watch and only weighing under 10 grams is just incredible. I've never heard of this brand before, but I'm really glad that a brand like this exists and offers these watches. Am I gonna buy one? No, but it is damn cool. This model is limited to 200 pieces and it's priced at just under 20,000 Swiss francs, which is a lot of money, but it's actually not as much as you would think a watch like this would cost. One thing that I found very surprising about this watch is the fact that it has 25 meters of water resistance. I thought 30 meters was the minimum. 30 meters was like, don't get this watch wet. But 25 meters, what does that even mean? You have to keep it in extra dry places? I don't know. I just thought it was very funny. And that's it. That is the last release that I want to talk about in this video. Thanks for watching it all the way until the end. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this week's releases. I always enjoy reading your comments. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.